Do you ever just stop and think about how good God has been to you and to be so grateful for all the wonderful things that have been provided to you? I was invited to a Valentine's tea with my daughter and her first daughter, and I just looked at them and started counting all of my blessings. Welcome in, friends. This is Charlie with Gracefully Aging with Charlie. And I had planned on a different type of content, but yesterday was Valentine's Day and today is Sunday. So I went to church with my daughter and her husband and my granddaughter, one of my granddaughters, the only one that's lives here in the same area. And I was invited by my daughter to a high tea with her daughter. And this was my daughter's way of celebrating Valentine's Day with her mom and her oldest daughter. Now, my daughter and her daughter are married. I am not. And she has, meaning my daughter, has never missed a Valentine's Day, well, no day, special day for that matter, to honor me as well. So basically, the two women go out and celebrate Valentine's Day with their husbands, which they should. And then the day after, she'll do something and we'll celebrate together. And as I was sitting there sipping on tea and listening to the chatter, I just had an overwhelming feeling of gratitude. Now, I'm one of those people who practices gratitude. I just think it's one of the most mentally refreshing things you can do, because if you spend so much time wallowing in pity, wallowing in lack, questioning why your life doesn't look different, it's not a place emotionally or mentally that you want to be, simply because, and this is proven, that sort of kind of dark, negative thinking impacts the longevity of your life. So I practice daily being grateful. Now, it doesn't matter what the day is or what it looks like, what I have, what I don't have. I'm not going to question what I don't have. I'm always going to be grateful for what I have. And I believe when you have that kind of attitude, especially for believers. So this is probably a video for believers or those who are on the fence about believing in God. But I feel like every day, and you know my motto is every day above ground is a great day. So use it wisely. And when I wake up in the morning and I thank God for my breath, and I thank God for my health, and I thank God for all the provisions, in spite of me not deserving them, right? I just thank God, and it just puts me in such an emotional, joyous spirit before my feet ever hit the ground when I'm getting out of the bed. But as I'm sitting there with my only daughter and the oldest of her three daughters and the only one that's in town, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how much more blessed can I be that I have an amazing relationship with my daughter, an amazing relationship with my grandchild. And this past summer, my grandchild, who happens to be named after me, we call her Charlie as well, she presented my first great-grandchild. And as I'm looking at her and she's just chattering, I'm thinking back when she was born. And I was there with my daughter and waiting for her to deliver Charlie. and they're in the Air Force. So I think it was Vandenberg Air Force Base. I can't remember, but it was in California, and it was right around Christmas. And she was born 3 days before Christmas. So when she came home from the hospital, they had put her in a stocking, which my daughter still puts up every Christmas. But I'm sitting there looking at little Charlie and thinking, my goodness, it just seems like yesterday when we were holding her as this bright child that she actually turned out to be, and counting my blessings that not only was I alive and well when she was born, but alive and well when she presented her first child, she and her husband, and my first grandchild. And I'm sitting there like, all I ever really prayed for was to let me see my granddaughters grow up and get married and have a wonderful, long-lasting relationship like their parents. And if you can throw in a great-grandchild or two, I'd appreciate that as well. Well, with my grandchild, my grandson, he's fulfilled my prayers. And so I'm sitting here thinking, I'm so grateful. He listened to me. He loves me so much that he granted all of my wishes. And I mean, he's provided so much more than I'll ever deserve. And I thank him and love him for that. But gratitude, I believe if you are grateful for whatever has been provided you, it really opens the door for more. Whether you ask for it or not, I believe God intentionally provides more, because every day there's a different type of blessing that I've not even thought about. Or if I'm concerned about something, those concerns are addressed. And a lot of times they just seem miraculous. And I do believe that miracles exist. I believe that God is still in the miracle making business. And I mean, I'm a devout believer. So anyway, I'm sitting there looking at Charlie and my daughter interacting, and even that just kind of set me off emotionally. Like, it's just wonderful to see your daughter have a strong, positive relationship with her daughter. And the fact that I have such a strong, positive relationship with my daughter is sometimes overwhelming, because my relationship with my mother was so toxic and so hateful that as a kid growing up by a woman who literally would tell you that she wished you didn't exist, to have and witness relationships with my daughter and her with her daughters, all of them, to be as strong and Christian based as they are, is just so much of a blessing. And I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude, and the fact that we actually love each other. I remember when my daughter got married to her husband, whom I love as my own son. I don't refer to him as my son-in-law. He's just my son. He's just amazing. And he's always been so supportive of me as well. But I remember when I was told that they were pregnant, which I actually had already suspected. But I remember when that happened, and the first thing I thought was, well, I've got to help her raise these kids, because I know how difficult it is. I know that it really does take a village to raise children. So I was willing to relocate anywhere to make sure that I was available to take care of her baby if she wanted to go out for date night. Or if she wanted to do anything, if she just needed to get a good night's sleep or a good day's sleep or whatever. And so I got into the practice of moving closer to her. And he was in the military, so he was moving around a little bit. So I had moved to Florida, And by that time, she had just had the last of her 3 daughters. And I purchased a home down the street from her so that she would have me as a backup. All of these things I did as a grandparent were driven because even though I was raised by my grandparent, my grandmother from the time I was 12 until I was a woman at 18, I didn't have what you would call a relationship. That is where I was introduced. Well, I knew about Christianity. My mother would take us occasionally to church, so I knew about it. But my grandmother is a missionary, or was a missionary, and so church in the Pentecostal church. So church was a regular part of my existence during my high school days. 3-4 times a week we were at church. And so I knew about church, but after I graduated, for various reasons, I kind of cut that part of my life out of my life. I won't go into the details, but I did do that. So when the girls were born, I've always been a believer, so I didn't cut God out of my life. I cut the church out of my life, especially the Pentecostal church. And I moved to Florida to be there to help my daughter raise her daughters. And it turned out to be one of the best things I ever did in my life because it allowed me to create a true grandma-granddaughter relationship. And even to this day, the girls are all grown. 2 of them are married. The middle child got married this past summer, and they're doing well, and hopefully we'll get an announcement that she's expecting. And the youngest daughter is, she's dating, but things are looking good for her as well. So looking like everything is moving in the direction of how the Bible says it should move, right? How it should be. And that pleases me because that's very rare today. Even in the community of believers, a lot of them have twisted the word so much. And if I'm offending anybody, I'm sorry, but this is my personal belief, that they've twisted the words of the Bible so much that they've allowed themselves to basically live sinfully, but still claim Christianity. And that's okay. That's on them. And we all get judged at the end, right? So I'm not sitting here to judge anybody. It's an observation. So it pleases me that everything is just moving according to the way it should. Now, it didn't just happen to be that way. My daughter and her husband, just amazing, amazing couple. They've had to learn through lots of Christian counseling and digging into the Bible and really having a true desire to live a godly life, that they had to, through the years and through knowledge and wisdom of the Bible, come to the point where they were adamant about agreeing on how they were going to rear their daughters. And the top priority was to make sure that they knew God, that they had a relationship with God, that they knew the Bible, that they knew the Word, so that they would be armed with any false messages that would come their way. And it's worked out really well. And of course, they went to Christian schools and all of that. But I look at them and the fact that I have a working relationship, well, better than a working relationship with my daughter. Number one, that's a generational curse that has been broken, because the relationship between me and my mother was awful. She's passed away, but it was awful. The relationship between her and her mother was awful. The relationship between my aunt, my mother's sister, and her mom, my grandmother, was awful. So for generations, the relationships between the daughters and the mothers have been absolutely horrendous. And to see that that is not the case with my daughter and my granddaughter and her mom is a generational curse that's been broken. So basically what that means is that role models have been put in place such that those roles are being repeated, and the way that my granddaughter and her husband are raising their children is the same as her mom and dad. So they're both teaching little grandson, the Bible. He doesn't understand anything right now, but reading to him and playing games that are Bible based, and spending time with him. Things that I never had. I didn't have a parent. My dad abandoned me when me and my brother, when I guess I was a baby, but my brother is 3 years older than me. And my dad was just absent before I even began to walk. I do know that. So not having a father, there's a whole part of having to teach yourself certain things because dads are usually there to teach you. Unfortunately, my mom wasn't in a position to teach us much of anything because her first priority was her next drink or whatever drug of the day she was using. So there wasn't any training or teaching or any of that stuff going on with her. So the fact that I was given guidance, miraculous guidance, and wisdom to behave in a different way and given a heart of love and putting my children in a priority spot, which they should be, because once you bring them in this world, they didn't ask to come here, right? It's on you to give them the best loving and care that you can give them. And the fact that God put in me, led me how to do this without any role model. And when I say no role models, the only role models I had was from TV. Looking at the Hollywood wives walking around the kitchen in heels, like how ridiculous. But that was the only role model I had. But somehow or another, I naturally had the ability to nurture and to love, and to look at the results of that in my granddaughters and again in their relationship with their mom is really, if you knew more about my background, that's a miracle. It's just simply a miracle. So today at High Tea, it was abnormally emotional for me because I know in my heart that this is not where I should be if I had followed the path of how I was raised and how I was treated by my mother. So I just want to share with you that when you notice those things that were negative in your upbringing and that are no longer negative or they're gone or whatever, that's breaking curses. There really is such a thing as generational curses. Take a moment, acknowledge that, thank God for it. And, thank yourself for following your heart and following your guidance and helping to break those things that could absolutely devastate generations to come. So I know I was kind of rambling, but I just wanted to put that out there, to just be grateful. I'm just feeling just a heart full of gratitude. And I just wanted to share that with you. For those of you who can identify with the same kind of or similar situation that I was in, put a comment. Let me know what kind of generational curses you've directly had something to do with breaking. That's a major accomplishment. And let me know your thoughts. Just put some comments in there. I love responding. You can send me an email. I love rescinding. I love receiving emails, and I do respond back. But just let me know what you think every day before your feet hit the ground. Just thank God for another day and thank Him with a prayer of gratitude for all that He's provided you with, even when you didn't deserve it. So until next time, be blessed and be kind to one another.